So living in Florida. No, me, girl.
Because I recorded it. Some people think that I wrote the
I'm sure that most of you know Rav Simcha and his family in Cheshvan and Avram Avinu. Next Shabbos is Chayesora. Is a big Shabbos there?
Yes.
Next Shabbos in Cheshvan. Next Shabbos is Parashat Chayesora. And please, if you can, please come to Cheshvan for Shabbos. Give chizuk to our brothers and sisters who have real mesivut nefesh. Not just for themselves, for all of Israel. And if Simcha give him a mazel tov, just became a zayde. Lots of nachas from Adam. 2 weeks. She's already an old zayde. Nowadays, you go to certain parts of town, there's 36 zayde. And so, Mamish living next door to Avram Avinu and Sarah Imenu all the time. Please have the shit and listen to his anecdote.
So it's good to be here. 21 years. 21 years later, I remember it a little bit like it was last night. That Thursday night, I saw Yisrael here. Yisrael calling me Thursday night. That time Yisrael was in a temporary, he was in the Lower East Side, where I was living at the time. He says, did you hear? Did you hear? Sometimes Yisrael would call me, if Yisrael was going to be here, he's going to be there, he'll be singing. There's a special private concert going on, a little kumsis in this one's house. I heard in this time in his voice, it's a different type, did you hear? Without him already saying it, I burst out crying, I understood. And then, like everyone, are you sure, are you sure? Maybe it was just a heart attack. Maybe, same time, 21 years later, to be together a little bit. Remember that Shabbos, going to the shul on the west side and being there. The Shlomo's body, the entire Shabbos, Ronan, I think you were also there with us. And Sammy and some of the Holy Chaver. And that Shabbos, Vayeh Elav Hashem. Remember, Shlomo said that strong teaching. Every time there's a revelation, there's always what words? God appeared unto Abraham, and then he says, and he said a commandment, he said a great promise of what's going to be, or foreshadowing or forewarning, but it just says God appeared beyond words. Beyond words. And that Shabbos was a little bit that Bechina, Vayeh Hashem. Shlomo was revealing himself, but it wasn't a teaching, it wasn't even a niggin. It was just Vayeh Elav, just God revealing himself to us. And that revelation, that Shabbos, those moments, as Raz said, sometimes it's not a matter of how many years you were together. It was that infinite moment that you had with Rav Shlomo, that special moment, that special minute of connection, that special time that you had. And I wanted tonight a little bit to teach a piece from Neish Kodesh, because so many years we've been going over the Torahs of Vayera, Rav Shlomo's teachings on Vayera. And I remember before the yeshiva was here, the Muna was always giving over. Sometimes it was on the Moshav, sometimes it was in the house, sometimes it was in Yakar, the morning learning of the day of the yahrtzeit. I said maybe we'll jump forward to Chayesar a little bit. But before we go to the teaching, even though it's a teaching for Neish Kodesh, but sometimes Rav Shlomo would say, what the Rebbe was saying, just one word or one sentence. I wanted a little bit to share it on Sari Menu. I just wanted to share that one special intimate moment between I had the privilege to be with Rav Shlomo. And Baruch Hashem, I'm looking around, and so many chevra I know, so many people, it's from your parents, and so many people, it's the generation after. And katonti, I feel small sitting here. But yet, at the same time, I had the great privilege to be the last person to get smicha from Rav Shlomo. And Raz was talking about, one hand, the three teachings. You have to have your connection to Hashem, you have to have a Rebbe, you have to have a friend. And one of the big things, Rav Shlomo had the privilege to receive smicha from Rav Shlomo. It was Pesach Sheni, 1993, excuse me, right before, like a half a year before Rav Shlomo left the world. We all know Pesach Sheni is always the Yom Tov of what? Second chances, second beginnings. And we always, the classic way we always understand it is someone that was physically impure, someone that was physically or geographically far away and couldn't come to offer the Paschal offering on the 14th day of Nisan in the afternoon. So they come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they start complaining and they say, Lama Nigara, why should we what? Lose out on this great opportunity? We want a second chance. And somehow or other, we always associate Pesach Sheni with it's the Yom Tov for Balei Tshuva, for those who weren't and now have the second opportunity, those who were physically far away. Doesn't just mean the physical distance, but they were spiritually far away. And then those who were Tamei L'Nefesh, the Ishpitza, or the Tzaddikim, right? Tamei is the Lashon of the Zohar Kadosh writes, Sigiru, a Lashon of being closed. Michtash Machtishu Sigiru Sigaru. That you closed off from the light, you closed off from receiving life, you closed off from receiving God's divine light. And such a person that was closed off and he wasn't there to receive that great light or that great energy, wasn't able to be there, God says to him, I'm giving you a second chance. I'm opening up a new gate for you to have this second opportunity and to be able to receive another opportunity, new light. Do you remember Lama Nigara means, why should I lose out? A lot of times we have excuses. Let's say you're supposed to meet. Shlomo always give the mashal. In old Hasidic masters, always the king and the prince or the king and the princess. Shlomo is always the boy and the girl. And I'm supposed to meet Shpinzela, let's just say, 7 o'clock. And there all of a sudden I have a connecting flight, and the connecting flight is canceled, and the other flight was delayed. So I call her up from the airport and I say, I'm so sorry, I can't be there. She goes, listen, I understand, the airline was closed or the flight didn't take off. Don't worry about it. If I really love the person the deepest way, it's not enough to have an excuse why I couldn't be there. Love and Nigara. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. I wish I could have a second opportunity. I wish I could have a second chance. And when Am Yisrael cries out and we say we want a second chance, we're crying out for that second opportunity. That second chance. Lama Nigara. So Hashem says, it hurts you. Because remember, we had the greatest excuse in the world why we couldn't bring the Paschal offering. We were Tamei Nefesh. We were physically carrying the bones of Yosef, or Nadav and Avihu, who died in the desert. And we were carrying those bones for the 40 years in the desert. When it really hurts, you say, even if I have an excuse, I want that second opportunity. So Shlomo says, you see, there's inreach, there's outreach. And sometimes we think Tamei Nefesh just means someone who wasn't keeping Shabbos, and now he is keeping Shabbat. Someone who wasn't praying or davening, now he starts to daven. But it also means someone that was there, but he really wasn't there. He wasn't connected. You could do everything right, but your mamish didn't begin yet in servicing Hashem. You could do everything right, you could go to heaven, you could get the V. But you never really felt anything that you were doing. And that was what Am Yisrael was coming. We're there, but we weren't there. We were Tamei Nefesh. We were listening to the words, but we never felt that connection. We were closed off from the light. And those who were derech rechoka, it means you could be literally right there at that moment, but you still didn't feel the great connection, the great light. So he says, Simcha, I want you to be the Rebbe, Pesach Sheni, not just for those of Tamei Nefesh, what the world calls outreach, but for the inreach. For those who were there but need a second chance. They may be in yeshiva all their life. They never really felt that light that Raz was talking about. Or our God knows the light was hidden within the light. Only connected to the outside letters, to the outside words. They never connected to that inside light. To be the Rebbe for all those who need a second chance to taste how sweet Shabbos is. Who were derech rechoka even when they were there, but they weren't really there. There was a moment there, Shlomo gathered all the Chavit together. And when Shlomo gave smicha, it wasn't just to the individual, it was also to a spouse. And he says, I went to gather around Simcha and Leila to mamish give over all the energy. And there's that one moment where Shlomo put his hands on my head. That moment, it was like, whatever you read Eliyahu and Elisha, Moshe and Yeshua, just passing over something, like I got a new soul, getting reborn again, receiving this new light, receiving something very, very, very special. And there, Rav Shlomo just, again, we talk about exaggerations, but it felt like it was for thousands of hours. And people said, no, it was really 3 minutes, it was 5 minutes, it was 2, maybe 1 minute, 90 seconds. And then all of a sudden, Rav Shlomo started to sing a tune he hadn't sung in years. V'zoche, v'zoche, astei avot, u'mevi gomer, living heaven. Hay v'zoche, v'zoche, astei avot, u'mevi gomer, living heaven. Hay v'zoche, v'zoche, astei avot, I live different the chords and the notes and going high, and someone couldn't, that stage in his career, that stage in his life, and giving, he couldn't, and he starts talking about Cheshvan. You know, everyone is sure had different ideas about Eretz Yisrael needs. And some other I never really spoke ever of my personal views or my talks about Mamish, the holy Jews in Cheshvan. Mamish, they need our tefillah, they need our praise. And there we're all sitting around with candles, and he starts telling stories about the Bat Ayin, seeing Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Asher, and didn't understand. All of a sudden, where did that come from? We're talking about second chances, beginnings. And little would I know that less than a year later, I'd be moving to Cheshvan. And my first job would be in the Yeshiva Bat Ayin. And, you know, Raz also then was in his whole great spiritual journey at the time. I was teaching then in elementary school with Rabbi Nathan Greenberg and Daniel Cohen. And seeing the land all the time, Simcha, best your eyes to see the land, inside eyes. The Eretz Asher. Who would know that I'd become a tour guide? It wasn't my profession then in America. I wasn't giving tours of the Statue of Liberty, and you have to have special eyes to show people the land. Mamish, those moments, whatever it was, whether it was the 90-second version or the 3 to 5 minute, that moment, Shlomo put his hands on me. It was Mamish fixing my soul, paving my whole life. I remember under the chuppah, Shlomo was telling the deepest Torah. In previous years, I shared how we had the zchut to meet my wife, Judy's daughter, Ein Leah, in the shul, and the Shlomo was Masada Kedushin for us. And again, all of a sudden, he says, Leah, I bless you. You should teach the children how to walk. You should teach the children. You should always learn how to walk backwards. And tomorrow they should give each other strength to walk. And who would know? And if you listen, it's out of context. And my wife then majored in OT. She became an OT. It wasn't like, Leah spoke long discussions about what career I should choose. And it makes, this career makes $85 an hour. And if I'm on a PT, it's like, Mama, she always had this sense of ourselves. One time I remember I told Shlomo, I said, Shlomo, if you came down to the world just for me, Diana, it would have been enough. Just what you gave to me, it would have been just enough. You have no idea how much you gave to my soul. So let's learn the teaching the PSS now. And I'm sorry, just because this is where I'm holding, I'm in the city. Chevron, means connection and love, and chaver, but unfortunately also has the otiyot of cherev, of sword. And there's been a lot of swords now in Chevron, so we have to be mitzarev Chevron properly. Just like the Shem Havaya when it's not Yitkei Vavkei, and sometimes there's a chiluf of the otiyot of Havaya, the letters of God's holy name, then there's a lot of din. So too, if Chevron doesn't have the right 4 letters, Chet Bet Reish Vav Nun, the chibur, God forbid, could come in a destructive way. So this is the Rebbe, the PSS, teaching the PSS. Now, of course, it's written in 1939 in Eish Kodesh, but it's a teaching of the Rebbe protesting before God, screaming out before God. Those who like to listen inside, could take sheets. I made photocopies, and those who like just to listen outside. So you'll divide it up accordingly. And at the same time, we'll go a little bit to Shlomo's words at the end. And how Shlomo Mamish said that whole teaching in one line. In one line, he was giving it over. It's a teaching of Sarah Menu and Yitzchak Avinu, and what a real Jewish mother is all about. Giving over everything for her children. Sarah willing to die and go up, willing to die for Yitzchak Avinu, willing to die for her children. And what a real Jewish mother is. So again, many of you maybe heard bits and teachings from other tzaddikim. Rabbi Weinberger taught this teaching. Shlomo Katz has taught the teaching. And again, I'll just give it over the way I understood the teaching. And again, there's no one way that's right or one way that's wrong. So everyone knows when it talks about the years of Sari Menu, it says that Sarah lived Esrim Shana, Mea Shana, Esrim Shana, Sheva Shana, Shnei Chaye Sarah. She lived 100 years, 20 years, 7 years. Shnei Chaye Sarah. Shnei, these are either the 2 lives of Sarah, or Shnei Shanim means what? Years. These were the years of Sarah. So Rashi, in the very classic approach, every word needs to be interpreted. Why does the Torah repeat the word Shana so many times? She was 100 years, 20 years, 7 years. Just say she was 127 years when she died. And that could be done in the pasuk. Again, the Torah goes over, and these were the years of the life of Sarah. So we all know that there's a famous Rashi that says when Sarah was 100 years old, she was like 20 years old. And every elementary school, they always teach this. She was on the level of 20. And when she was 20, she was on the level of 7. So when she was 100 years old, she was on the level of 20. We know when Bezdin punishes, and the Bet Din Shamala gives a punishment, you only become a ba'anchin, so to say, liable to punishment from heaven once you reach the age of what? 20 years old. Otherwise, so to say, in terms of karet, you don't receive it till you're 20 years old. And so therefore, when she was 100 years old, she was on the level of what? A 20-year-old, that she was pure without any aver, without any sin. And when she was the level of 20, she was like a level of a 7-year-old in beauty and pureness and wholesomeness. And again, without spelling it out, we all know that sometimes a 7-year-old doesn't have to ask what I'm going to wear today. Maybe today 7-year-olds do spend time on what they're wearing. They don't have to put on any paint on their face, and they don't have to go through any plastic surgery. And she was just pure the way she was, and that pure, innocent child beauty and innocence. When she was 20, she was like 7. She had that pure, innocent beauty without any paint, without any external things to help her bring out the beauty that she had. So this is how Rashi says, Shnei Chaye Sarah, Kulam Shavim the Torah. They're all equal, and they all counted as good years. So now those who have the sheets, let's go to the PSS now. And the Eish Kodesh, the Chonim is Kamen Shapiro, Hashem Yikom Damo, and the Eish Kodesh, of Moshe Mavo Modian, whose yahrtzeit was Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. So some of this month of Cheshvan is filled with yahrtzeits. Crazy. And all connected to the Parshat. When you think about it, not Stam, Rav Shlomo died between Lech Lecha Mayera, Avraham Avinu, the Amud HaChesed, giving guests, inviting everyone to the tent, opening up the gates for Shabbos. It's not Stam that the Baal HaPetek, the one who brings so much laughter and the Nanachs, when was his yahrtzeit? Also Yudchet, Scholka Sali Elokim, bringing laughter to the world. Rabbi Kahana, Gvura, the whole fight of Sarimeno and Avraham, debating how to handle Yishmael, and God passing like Sarimeno Garesha Ben Amazot. It's not Stan that Rav Garon left the world between Chayesar and Toldot. The Chayesar is the Marta Machpelah. Rav Garon was privileged to liberate the Marta Machpelah. And this Shabbos Vayera is the Shabbos of Har Moriah, for the first time, the headquarters of the Temple Mount. Of coming, Ba'ashem Era. These tzaddikim left the world connected to the essence of what they were all about, what they accomplished in the world. So Amnam, we all know that when Moshe Rabbeinu heard that the suffering of Am Yisrael, he says, okay, guys, I'm your Messiah. I'm going to come, I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to be the one to take you out of your bondage and suffering. And everyone thought, okay, let's see if it's real or not. Is he just giving a good speech? Like a politician. I have the solution, I have the answer. He's even poetic. He has 4 lashonot of how I'm going to take you out. I'm going to take you to this unknown promised land. Or is this real? And we all know what happened when Moshe came on the scene. Not only did things not get better, things got what? Worse and worse. And the omes of the decree and the heaviness of the decree reached to new levels. And now we had to collect our own bricks. And now we had to collect, the straw and the material to provide for the bricks. And Am Yisrael starts saying, a false Messiah. This guy promised us salvation, and look what's happening. It's not so good. And Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Hashem and he starts to cry and he says, Master of the world, why do you make things worse? From when I came on the scene, not only did it not get better, but it actually got what? Got worse. And all of a sudden, there's a very, very strong response from Hashem. And Vayidaber him el Moshe, Vayom elav ani avaya. Vayidaber is a lashon kasha. There's different ways God talks. Vayidaber, Hashem talks in a very harsh tone. Elokim is din. God talks with the lashon of din and judgment. Vayom elav. But then all of a sudden, Hashem changes his tone and says, "Ani yudkei vavkei." So the Rebbe says, "Amnam, however, ita b'sefer hakadosh ma'or v'einayim." Everyone knows David Zella. And this was David's Sefer. Ov HaShemesh, the Morinayim. These were Sfarim that he always very, very much liked to quote from all the time. And there, in Pashat Ve'er, he writes, Me'rav HaKadosh Ish Elokim Menachem Mendel Mi'Rimenav. And he brings down from the Holy Rimenav. Ala Gemara, based on the Gemara that says, it's a famous Gemara that 3 things you only get through pain and suffering. Torah, Eretz Yisrael, and Olam Haba. And it doesn't come easy. They're called gifts, but they're gifts with a price. Sometimes a very, very, very heavy price. And it says, never, Nema Brit B'melach, Nema Brit B'Yisur. The salt, last Shabbos, we read about the Brit Ben Aptar, and there was salt involved. When you bring a carbon, you put salt on the carbon. And what does salt do to meat? When Avram has, remember that there's meat there, and there's a whole ceremony there in the Brit Ben Aptar. What does salt do to the meat?
It draws out the blood.
It draws out the blood and also draws out the taste. It draws out the good taste. And that's the koach that Melach has on Basa. The Nema Brit, it also says the term Brit when it comes to what? Suffering. That means, why does God sometimes test us? This Shabbos, Shlomo had non-stop teachings. Why does you never see Noach getting tested? Only Avram goes through the 10 tests. What's the purpose of the test? V'Elohim nisat Avram, we read. The Almighty tested Avram. What's the purpose of Yisurim? Just like the salt brings out the good taste in the meat, so too Yisurim is supposed to bring out the good taste of the Jewish people. And when we go through hardship, when we go through trials and tribulations, and funerals, and suffering, and anguish, and piguim, The idea is supposed to be what? It's supposed to bring out that good taste of the nation. How many times do you hear someone say, listen, it's horrible, horrible, but at least now the people are together. At least now the people are praying together. At least now when the people were kidnapped, the boys were kidnapped, at least now there's after, whether it was only lasted for 18 days, only lasted for this particular military operation and that military operation. But one way or the other, when these bad things happen, we say that what? It brings out a certain strength in Am Yisrael. The Am HaNetzach lo mefached of the Am Yisrael Chai. But now the Rebbe says, Ma melech memateket habasa, af yisurin. I see. Does it? Am I already? This I maybe don't look like a Zayda, but my eye is already in the level of a Zayda. I need special reading glasses. But it says here, af yisurin memarakin. So too. This type of stuff is good. Yeah, this is exactly what I need. So af yisurin, I have a pair. Memarakin. So too, the suffering, it also sweetens. Anyone go to Yam HaMelech and you float, what happens? All of a sudden, the salt, what does it do? All those cuts that you had, and all the scabs that you had, at that moment it burns, but afterwards, how does your skin feel? Feel good and fresh. And anyone who goes to the spa, okay, I think we all deserve a day like that, after everything that we're going through. But however, if the melach, if you put too much salt on the meat, let's say I put too much salt on the meat. Let's say I salt the meat too much. And let's say I put out of proportion salt on the meat. So it doesn't bring out the good taste. What does it do? It destroys it. It becomes inedible. It becomes something that I can't then have any benefit from the meat. Only if it's the right dosage of meat. Sometimes in the recipe books it has a pinch of salt. So too the Yisur Meju goes through. It has to be in the right what? Has to be in the right dosage. It has to be that we have the ability to receive it. And it has to be in the right proportion. And with a little bit, a tint of not just judgment, but also rachamim, also what? Mercy within it. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Hashem, I understand why we have to go through suffering. I understand the purpose of the shibud of the 210 years in Egypt. And we have to go through this siruf, this cleansing, and this process of going through the Korah Bazel and this fiery furnace. But Master of the world, it's too much. It's too much. We can't handle from hour to hour opening the news and hearing about another pigua, about another person, soldier that's injured, another person that was killed. We can't go another day hearing about this one being orphaned, this one widowed, a soldier losing an eye, a limb, having to undergo surgery. And don't think for a second when they say Khalad Benoni. Now, Kal, so you think he has the flu, he's going to take antibiotics now, and then the strep throat will go away. I go to the hospital, I go to visit, I go to Shiva calls. And I can tell you, last Friday I was by a soldier, Kal, 2 surgeries on his hand. It's not even clear if he'll get back full movement and usage of his hand. I'm sitting there, you go to the bedside of that 3-year-old girl, last Erev Shabbat, traveling from Nitzan to Beit El. And there, a child of her mother having gone through a pigua. The Yisurim, we understand God, but it can't be in such heavy dosage. It can't be with such heaviness. It can't be without a break in between. Just like Yaakov said, it can't be all in such intensity, all in such one shot. I was Shabbos Chalamayit here by my in-laws, and there already I felt the energy, a little bit. I'm tuning the energy of Am Yisrael. And the second I told Leah, I feel something heavy going on. And the second, even before Shalosh Shudis was finished, and we davened Ma'ariv, there was the pigua of Nehemiah Lavi and the best of a chassid, Benita, who were both stabbed to death. And you think a little bit, we think about it for that moment, and we talk about it for that day. But today, isn't it hard to keep up? Isn't it hard to remember? Which pigua in Gush Etzion? Which one are you referring to? The girl from Tekoa, the 3 boys, the stabbing last night, the 16-year-old from Beit Chagai, the soldier who was, which one are you referring to? And therefore, the Rebbe is protesting and saying, Master of the world, the Yisurim only work if it's memuzag barachamim, if in the right dosage, and if it's also with ani havaya. What does God say then? Vayoma elav ani havaya. I'll soften it. I'll put in Yud Kei Vav Kei into it. I realize that's too much. It's too heavy. I'm just crying out now so much. The ayah, the crying out, where are you? Where are you? The crying out of Ana Hashem Moshe, that's too much. Now let's connect it to Sari Menu. Then in this speech, Parsha, the last Aliyah, we read about the Akedah of Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak going up on the altar. And we all know right after that, it says, Vatamat Tzar, and Tzara died. He carried Abba, he Cheva, and Tzara dies, and carried Abba, which is Cheva. So what's the connection to Tzara death and the Akedah? Anyone remember the Rashi? Why are the two listed together, the Akedah, and then afterwards Tzara's death? When she heard, either whoever came to tell her, whether it was Og Melech HaBashan, whoever came to tell Sari Menu that it's a serious situation, and Yitzchak was brought up on, at that moment she saw, even though whether she knew the result turned out okay, that Yitzchak didn't die, she didn't know the result. But still, Parcha Nishmata Meta, she couldn't handle it. The fright was too much, the fear was too much, and Sarah dies. And she dies, even though the end was good, it was still too heavy to know that her son Yitzchak, her son that she prayed for 90 years, her son Yitzchak, that was going to be the future of the Jewish people and the Jewish nation. Ki be Yitzchak Yikala Chazar, the future of the nation is going to be for Yitzchak. That child died, or even came close to death, would be too much. And Hainu Shemoshe Benu Raya Memnaya. We're going to connect back to a certain minute, and the Rebbe is jumping between the two. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, the true shepherd who saw every Jew as his own child, Samach mitatzar l'Akedat Yitzchak, when he put the Torah together, he put the end of Pashat Vayera, the Akedat Yitzchak, Yitzchak being brought to Har Moriah and being brought up on that holy place. And Sarah dying, he put them, the smichot, he put the two together. To show that sometimes it's too heavy, we can't handle it. To show that it's too much, that when you put the two together, that sometimes the Yisurim is so much, and when we get Yisurim Yotemidai, Sari Menu is going to die. So, the Nasa came to Sarah, Sadeket Gedola Kazu, Shabbat Kuf Kabat Chaf Lechet. And if Sarah couldn't handle it, Sarah was so holy. So when she was 100, she was like 20, that she had no sin, she had no blemishes. And Sari Menu, that we say, Kulam Sham Netova, all the years were good. If she couldn't handle it, she couldn't handle so much pain and so much suffering. The Rebbe says, what about us in 1939? For sure, it's too heavy for us. We've seen too much already. It's been too much. Too much Yisurim, too much suffering. Am Yisrael doesn't have any more vessels to receive you, Hashem, on this level of ayah. We need Hashem to be mamtik v'dinim, to sweeten that judgment. We need Hashem to sweeten it. And Sari Menu, so to say, is dying for all the future Jews, for all the future Akedat Yitzchak of Jews have to go up on the altar and say Mass of the world. We can't handle it. It's too much. We can't handle burying when parents have to bury their children. We can't handle that Am Yisrael has to always be walking around with this fear. We can't handle when people have to walk in Eretz Yisrael, and we can't v'shachavti ve'machari, we can go to sleep without a fear. We can't handle what's going on. It's too much. We don't have vessels for it anymore. The Rebbe goes even deeper now, and he says, Odev Shaloma, shegam Sarah imenu atzma, shenatna kol kach aliba, masa akeda. Sarah was so sensitive, not just to her own personal son Yitzchak, but she knew that in the future there'll be thousands of Jews who will be burnt in the marketplace in the Spanish expulsion. She knew Jews would sit in Siberia to come to Eretz Yisrael. She knew the 6 million. And there, Sari Menu said, I don't want to live. I can't continue to live like this. Ad shepacha nishmata, till her soul, mamish, she gave off her soul. And she died. She says, I can't stay in the world. But the Tovat Yisrael Asata. So to say, she gave her life. She could have lived till like Avram till 175. She had many more years in her life. But she did it, and she died for the sake of Israel. To show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that could be a point that Am Yisrael is going to say, Ad Matai. We can't handle anymore. It's just too much. ואפילו מי שבחמלת השם נשאר חי. גם אחי יסוריו, מכל מקום חלקי כוחו ומוחו ורוחו נשבר. Here the Rebbe says, even those who were able to survive, like Yitzchak survived, and he stayed living even after the Yisurim. מכל מקום, nevertheless, חלקי כוחו ומוחו ורוחו נשבר. Part of his spirit, part of his strength, part of his ruach was broken. V'nevdu mimeno was lost from him. Think about the Henkin children. Think about those kids. Someone say, but at least the kids are around. Do you know what it is when you see, we don't know what it is, when you see your father and mother shine in front of you? Think about Binyamin and Talia Kana, when their children were killed, when their parents were killed right in front of them. Maybe they're alive. But could you imagine the emotional trauma that these kids go through? Think about Mordechai Lapid, Shalom Lapid, and those children who were in the van that didn't get killed, but they saw their father and brother get killed. Think about that pain. Think about that suffering. Think about all of these people. The Rebbe quotes a Gemara Masechet Shabbos, Mali katle kule, mali katle paga. Rebbeinu Shalom, what difference does it make if you killed all of me, if you killed part of me? Something dies inside of us every time we see those videos. And in the age of videos, it's great, as Rabbi Raz said, that we could capture the Rebbe's essence and the spirit of the tzaddik and all the beautiful shiurim online. And when you watch those videos of stabbings and buses getting blown, each period had its own tragedy. Sometimes it's just too much. Sometimes you don't want to open up the news. Mali katle kule, mali katle palga. And the Rebbe's writing this in 1939 was 1,000 times worse. You can't even compare. Because then we weren't able to kill the terrorists and we weren't able to kill the Nazis. But there, he says, the Rebbe says, part of our spirit, part of our mind, mamish broke. The novdu mimena was lost. And there we'll just go outside because it's late and we want to have time to go to the kever. The Rebbe says, that's what the end Rashi says, Shnei Chayei Sarah. These were the years of life of Sarah. Sarah Imenu. Hashem could say, hey, Sarah, you committed suicide. What are you doing? This is Masada. What are you, Roy Klein, jumping in front of the grenade? What are you, Nechem Lavi, going out when you see a terrorist stabbing and you try to save the situation? What are you doing? No, Hashem says, Kulam Sham L'Tova. So that you died when you heard what happened to Yosef and Yitzchak. Wasn't just for Yitzchak, we said, but for all of Am Yisrael. To be a point that the Yisurim are too much and too heavy. So I want everyone to look a little bit at what Rosh Shlomo writes. Go to the second page. We have more of the second page. Rosh Shlomo's words you can pass out. And some other photocopy machine at this point made more copies. If anyone needs more of the second page, we have some more. Everyone needs here. Just again, sometimes you see if someone says the word, you wonder where did he take it from? What's he talking about? Is it really based on the sources or what? Where does he get this? When he says Sarah was the fixing of Chava. Everyone knows that Chava brought down Adam Arishon. She ate from the tree of knowledge, and what happened to her? Hashem said, whoever eats, mot yumat, has to die. So Chava could have died alone, but she said, I don't want to die alone. And what did she do? She dragged down Adam Arishon. And she gave Adam Arishon also teach. She says, I don't have the strength to die alone. Sarah is the opposite. And Sarah says she's the fixing of Chava. Where does he get that? The fixing of Chava, that I'm willing to die for what? I'm willing to die. Not that I'm willing to die for my children. I'm willing to die that Yitzchak shouldn't die. I'm willing to die that Am Yisrael, not only they shouldn't die, but they shouldn't have to go through so much Yisurin. Because when the Yisurin is too painful and it's too much, what happens? It destroys the basla, it destroys the meat when there's too much salt. So too, the effect that Hashem wants to have, that when He tests us and challenges us, He wants us to draw closer to Him. But sometimes it has the opposite effect, that you have no cheshek to daven. You say, how could I say Melech Rachaman? How could I, when all this is going on? So let's read the words together. Let me tell you what it says in Chassidus. Hashem doesn't say where He's drawing it from. But some people love their children very much, but they still have a little bit of a private life too. There's my career, and then I also like to spend time Shabbos, Friday night. I love it. I get to sit with my kids. Shabbos one week before shul, I learn with my children. But there's my professional life, there's my career, and then there's my, on the side, I have an appetizer, dessert, my family life. but I'm really married to the office. I'm married to my career. I'm married to, even if it's a high holy course, I'm married to Chevron. I'm married to Tikkun Chet HaMaraglim. I'm married to my students, whatever a person has. So some people have that type of life. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are absolutely fathers their whole life. They're called the Avot. That's all they were. The Imahot, our mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, were not just sideline mothers. It's a strong word. They weren't just sideline mothers. This was their whole thing. A mother Sarah didn't become a mother Sarah only when she had Yitzchak. A mother Sarah was a mother Sarah from the first time she opened her mouth. You see what it is for a woman not to have children in a very heartbreaking way. For a mother not to have children, it's unbearable. Bat Rachel, how did Rachel? It was just her yahrtzeit on Shabbat. Bat Rachel say, "Hava libanim, im ayin meita anochi." Let me have kids, otherwise my life is like what? A living death. Most women become mothers only after they have a baby, but until they have the baby, they're just women. Our mother Sarah was a mother before, and the way she was crying for a baby, never before and never after. The first thing she corrected was the knowing that Kabbalah, do I need God every split second? When Eve ate from the forbidden fruit, she mamish felt that she was dying. She suddenly got to feel that her life energy was on a completely different level. It doesn't mean she ate the fruit and then she died. You open the light on Shabbos and you chayav achatas b'shogeg and b'mezit achiyav karet, and there, boom, God takes your life. I remember the first time you do this avera and you think that's it, I'm going to die. But it wasn't that way. It was death means that the energy of life, the lifeline, the quality of your life is dying. You're no longer living that 100%. You're no longer open to life. You're no longer hearing and seeing and receiving. Your brain's operating on maybe 25% capacity. Your love is only operating on a small percentage. There, until that moment, she was living forever. But now she's living on this infinite level. But now she felt that she was on her way out. She says to Adam, I'm afraid to die alone. I'm afraid to die alone. So Adam says, okay, I'll eat with you. I will also die. So the second thing Eve did wrong was when she said to Adam, I want you to die with me. You know, friends, when Sarah heard that Yitzchak is just about to die, because he's lying on the altar, Sarah says to God, let me die for my son. This is the utmost correction. Eve told somebody else to die for her. And Sarah brought this thing in the world to die for somebody else. To be willing to die for someone else. And Eben Shlomo, which Shlomo Katz did such a beautiful work in collecting, there he says again, in the Torah of Eve's revelation, and he says, you know what the highest and deepest expression of love is? That I'm ready to die for you. I'm ready to die for God. I'm ready to die for my children. I'm ready to die for all of Israel. And maybe I'm ready to die for the whole world. You see what it is? If there's no such thing as dying, then this depth of love would have never been revealed in the world. This was Sari Menu. I'm willing to die for my children. I'm willing to die not just for my biological son Yitzchak, but for all of Israel. That when Yisurim get too much, I'm protesting before God. Master of the world. You have to have Rachmanis and Am Yisrael. Anyway, Hashem Melech Rachaman Rachem Aleinu. We'll sing a little bit. I just want to say, we have a tent over there. Even if it's raining, Beit Hashem Nahalek Beregesh. When it comes to the house of Hashem Beregesh, the Sfasem is right. Beregesh is the Rashi Teva of Barad, Bet, Hill, Reish, Ruach, Gimel, Geshem, and Shin Shelek. So in all the elements of nature, when it comes to someone's thing, it doesn't make a difference what the weather is. There'll be an oil over there, and we were able to arrange a little bit. And even the sound system hopefully will also work. But just mamish, we got to make the Torah into a tefillah. So just please join me, everyone. Rebbe finishes, V'chein yirachem Hashem aleinu v'kol Yisrael, Yoshienu, v'mehera b'ruchniut, v'gufaniut. Hashem shall have mercy on us and save us, spirituality and in our bodies, b'chasadim migrim, with open chasadim. It's a little bit, without being commercial. But the yeshiva, Baruch Hashem, started, it's already now 14th year, 11, excuse me, the 12th, going into our 12th year. And my in-laws, Rav Shalom and Judy, Mamish put their heart and soul into this. And I'm not here to talk about money, but the greatest nachat ruach to my in-laws is that people are coming and learning, and people are getting closer. And it's nice once a year, not to sound, the Raz are talking about the Nagunim, and that it's nice once a year. I want to connect to Hasidus and to Pnimis and to Shlomo's teachings. And I want to be Chabad, Besev, Kalbach, Cook. But Mamish, the house is open all year with Shiurim in the morning. And there's a schedule outside of all the different classes. And really, throughout the year, there's a great opportunity to really draw from a great source and a wellspring. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law and the different Magidei Shiurim here, Shaftem Mayim B'Sasam Mimanei Yeshua, to draw water, to take that Yukach Namat Mayim, that little drop of water, to wash away all old habits and uptightness. And rest under the tree of life, to rest under the tree of life. The teachings here are only from the Eitz HaChaim. There is no Eitz HaDat Shiurim here, from the tree of knowledge. There's other yeshivot for that and great yeshivot for that. But here it's all from the tree of life. So we should really take advantage. So many times wake up after I may have Esrim, I would have been more involved had I known. Or I should have, I would have, I wish I. Let's take advantage now and really draw from this great spring and to really be mechazik the yeshiva in every way, the ruchniat, and to really strengthen Corina, Michal, and the beautiful davenings Friday night, and the Shalosh Shidduses, and really keeping with Shlomo's spirit life, everyone in their own way who's doing it, everyone each way, there's no one way. Mamish, Rav Ruven, and Svat, and everyone carried the torch, and Rav Yisrael. Mamish, I see you right away. Some people, you see Yerushalayim, David HaMelech, you remember Yerushalayim. I see you, I remember Rav Shlomo. And we should always be able to really spread the light. Tzaddik's light, the star, at night you see it strong. The further the star goes, sometimes you think the light's not there, but it keeps on shining, keeps on shining. Even when it's daytime, the light of the stars keep on shining. Shlomo was a light. When he was there for us at night. And then everyone in their own personal nights. And Am Yisrael on their night post-Holocaust. And all those dark alleyways. Shlomo was Avraham Avinu going there and spreading the light. But at the same time, that light not only is it not disappearing, it's getting stronger and stronger. Like the Kochavim Balayla. Anyway, we should Mamish receive the light. And we should see everyone today at the Keva and Mamish sing our hearts out. Pour our hearts out. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you, Master of the World, for such a beautiful Rebbe, such a beautiful Rebbe friend. And thank you, Hashem, for giving us this great light in the world.
Thank you, Hashem. And like you said, we want to all back to learn, and to be best friends. And one thing we have to do, what are they going to do with you told the rabbis when you're gone, and he said, our job today is to be best friends. So once again, thank you for coming, and see you on Tuesday. Just use the
Thank you.
Always a night.
Have a good Shabbos.
Shabbos, yahrtzeit. There's no feast in Torah.
On the assessment.
No, on the
It's Sarah.
there's another piece. There's no added to it. Involved pieces.
Tell me.
The mother says, "You come in for Shabbat, they came and said, no, man, they're around." You missed out. It's too late. It's too late. It happened already. You missed out. The Gemara says, according to one Yeshiva, they were carrying a Rosh Yosef. It's one of those Yosef child. Very much. Yosef? Where does Yosef come from? Yosef is born from Yaakov and Rachel. Yaakov and Rachel. How did Rachel have a chance to marry Yaakov? Rachel gave away her chance to Leah when she gave her some money. She missed her chance, right? Must be you can have a second chance. So Shlomo says, hey, if I can have a second chance, normally go, right?
Excellent. Beautiful.
You have to talk about the Shabbos.
On Shabbos, guys. So you come to me. But you have to bring sleeping, we're on bed, bring sleeping bags and sleeping bag and pillows. I know there's someone else. I'm sorry. Someone else need this. Here's my card, okay? Yeah.
You'll probably see me I'm in Jerusalem.
He's strong as the one sheep with the 70 wolves. Father, we have to believe. That's thank you. How you doing?
I feel like you.
Different. And I just got this.